The world of Pokemon is a bright, colorful place full of unusual animals. And if you're anything like the average gamer, you've spent hundreds of hours wandering through the wilderness, looking for pocket monsters to fight, kidnap, and train to battle for you. It's a vicious cycle, and that underlying weirdness has given rise to some of the strangest, creepiest video game bootlegs and mods of any series out there. After seeing these Pokemon bootlegs, we're not sure if you'll want to catch them all. Pokemon Creepy Black. The bizarre rumor of Pokemon Creepy Black first popped up around 2005 when someone supposedly found an all-black Game Boy cart at a flea market. The game gives you the option to start out with your standard Pokemon, but you can also start out with Ghost, a Pokemon that can do only one thing: instantly terrify other Pokemon and trainers to death. By the end of the game, your trusty Ghost turns on you, and you two are dragged into the cold, cold ground. As with most online horror stories, Pokemon Creepy Black probably wasn't a legit cart, but the weird internet story inspired multiple modders to bring the game to life in ROM form. Download it if you'd like a sleepless night or two, pondering the ethics of being a Pokemon trainer. Just watch out for those ghost types. The creepy doesn't stop there, however. Hypno's Lullaby. A mod that arose from a creepypasta poem, Hypno's Lullaby is all about the strange hypnotic Pokemon and his secret penchant for kidnapping small children and bringing them to his cave in Berry Forest. One could argue that every single Pokemon deserves a bit of revenge for how they're treated by their trainers, and Hypno's Lullaby exacts that revenge tenfold. Your hero really has no option but to grab a starter Pokemon and wander into the woods, where you're immediately captured by Hypno and trapped in a cave with other zonked-out kids. As you work your way out of the cave, you can only order your Pokemon to kill Hypno's juvenile slaves who block every exit. Then, you work your way through a tower full of unbeatable ghosts and the spirits of children you've killed. Eventually, Hypno throws one last barrage of children at you before trapping you in a room where he eats your dreams for all eternity. There is no end. You just shut off the game and quietly walk away, telling no one what you've done. There is even more for you, however, if you like your Pokemon full of death and despair. Pokemon Snakewood. Pokemon Ruby is a popular Pokemon game to mod, and Pokemon Snakewood is just one strange example of the results. Snakewood crosses Pokemon with The Walking Dead. The results is a game in a post-apocalyptic setting populated by zombies and demons, where even the Pokemon have adorably creepy names like Poliwraith and Headdoom. In true Walking Dead style, your hero wakes up in a destroyed town, encounters someone being attacked by zombies, and finds a safe zone. As you play, you eventually battle the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse, which is a lot scarier than just battling some spoiled kid who likes forcing animals to fight one another. It's a surprisingly robust story for an unofficial game. Snakewood proves that Pokemon has its fair share of inventive and weird fans. Pokemon Quartz. Do you love the concept of Pokemon but hate all of those corporate Nintendo-approved monsters? Well, Pokemon Quartz may be the game for you. Dedicated Pokemon bootleggers made a copy of Ruby and replaced all of the official Pokemon sprites with their own malformed creations. While these pocket monsters' names and appearances have changed, their powers and stats remain intact. Why have the Charmanders been replaced with these? Our best scientists are still working on an answer. Quartz is criticized for being relatively amateurish and incomplete, but the visual overhaul of so many lovable and popular Pokemon is just so weirdly obsessive and pointless that it can't be ignored. Pokemon Sweet. Modded from Fire Red, Pokemon Sweet reimagines the entire world of Pokemon as a surreal, Candy Kingdom-like place. Here, everything is made of desserts, and delicious danger lurks around every corner. Because just walking around cotton candy fields isn't enough, your favorite Pokemon, now called Poke-Sweets, are now named after snacks. Bulbasaur becomes Browniesaur and gets a dollop of whipped cream and a cherry. And Popsichu has a giant wooden stick shoved into its head. Pokemon types are now flavors instead, and you basically just ruined your dinner. The deadliest attack in the game? Diabetes. Moemon Emerald Fire Red. For those who want their Pokemon experience to be even weirder, Moemon is for you. Moemon replaces all of those totally unattractive monsters with sprites of cosplay girls dressed up as Pokemon instead, raising even more ethical questions than the original. Because pitting animals in death matches against one another isn't horrifying enough, you now send costumed girls into the arena to fight one another until one finally passes out from the pain. Instead of building your Pokemon collection, you slowly grow a violent, confusing little harem. Pokemon Ash Gray. True Poke nerds know the differences between the original Pokemon games and the anime of the same name. Ash Gray inventively tweaks the original game's script and missions to actually follow the events of the offshoot media, including many episode-specific events, from giving donuts to Primeapes to leaving Pikachu to live with other Pikachu in the forest. The result is a carton of Easter eggs for devotees of the Pokemon universe, who may have found the original games lacking after seeing the more colorful anime. If the cartoon isn't your thing, however, there are even more options for players who want something more out of Pokemon than just grinding for Gengars. Pokemon Advanced Adventure. As far as narrative structure goes, the Pokemon anime series is still pretty flimsy. Ash doesn't have any real motivation to be the best Pokemon trainer in the world, aside from the fact that it's something to do in a world without standardized education or non-Pokemon-based employment opportunities. Pokemon Advanced Adventure flips the script and rewrites Ash as a kid struggling against poverty, genetically modified Pokemon, and Professor Oak's insane tyrannical grandson, whose only purpose is to train Pokemon to kill. Finally, Ash is written as an actual hero and not just some animal hoarder with dozens of neglected pets. Pokemon Vietnamese Crystal. While most of these games are intentionally strange, there are also a few examples that are amazing by accident, like Pokemon Vietnamese Crystal. Fake Pokemon cards are a huge business, and Kotaku reports that this was a genuine bootleg that circulated in Vietnam before it was poorly translated into English. As a result, the game's text is hilarious. It regularly drops profanity, calls Pokemon elves, and barely attempts to make sense. Since it's just a mistranslated Pokemon game without any big changes, it plays just fine. If you can make the right text selections through the garbled menus and figure out what the game means by phrases like volcano bake meat, which kinda sounds exactly like something Guy Fieri would serve. 2003 Pocket Monster Carbuncle. Unlike most Pokemon bootlegs which just tweak existing code, 2003 Pocket Monster Carbuncle actually attempts some originality, according to a Geek Party review. The resulting game plays a bit like the classic NES Dragon Warrior, but also reduces the number of Pokemon to 20, tossing biodiversity out the window. The word carbuncle usually refers to a cluster of boils, which would be appropriate enough for this game, but it's also an obscure word for a red gemstone, which fits in with Pokemon's recurring theme of naming games after fancy rocks. Unfortunately, 2003 Pocket Monster Carbuncle is a garbage game and it doesn't play like Pokemon in any sense whatsoever, but points for trying something new, unknown foreign plagiarizers. Pocket Monsters go, go, go! Now we enter the realm of the truly terrible. For no reason whatsoever other than to dupe unsuspecting Pokemon fans, some horrible soul switched out sprites from the Smurfs Nightmare for Game Boy Color, made it run at half speed, and pretended it was a Pokemon game. Even the most lonely fanfic writers never asked for a Smurfs Pokemon crossover, but anything is possible when you have no friends. Starting off your adventure, you're greeted by a talking Meowth head who rambles the following. Every night in my dreams, I see you, I feel you. You are here, so I very fear. There is some hate that will not go away. Then you send your morbidly obese Pikachu through some kind of Satan town with flickering, seizure-inducing backgrounds. You then quickly pull the cart out of your Game Boy and throw it across the room before it's too late. Pokemon Stadium, Super Nintendo Edition. Despite Pokemon's relentless popularity, there was never an official game made for the original Nintendo Entertainment System or the Super Nintendo. In fact, the first major Pokemon game for consoles was the Nintendo 64's Pokemon Stadium, so it makes little sense to reverse engineer an N64 cartridge to an older gaming system. The SNES was pretty outdated by this time, so making bootlegs of imaginary games wasn't really economically viable. It's like trying to sell a fake dial-up modem. Even if it's real, no one needs one anymore. Much like the real Pokemon Stadium, the SNES bootleg is a turn-based fighter, but with a limited roster of 12 Pokemon. They all have incorrect names. Diglett is Daggett, Mewtwo is Moo, and Jigglypuff is Poolin? It's a fully functional game, unlike most bootlegs, but it's a step in the wrong direction, just like the final game in our list. Pokemon 4-in-1. Another relic from the age of the original Nintendo, Pokemon 4-in-1 is one of those terrible anthology games that crams 4 games onto a cart to apologize for all of them sucking. And again, because the Nintendo Entertainment System was becoming a thing of the past by the time Pokemon was popular, this is just weird. The game includes Pika Click, where you click on groups of matching symbols, Pika Dance, where you tap on Pokeballs in time to a song, Pika Slot, which is a slot machine for amateur gamblers, and Pac-Man, which is Pac-Man, but with a disembodied Pikachu head. Every single aspect of this is a waste of money and time. But because it's bizarre and obscure, Poke collectors will sell their Poke kidneys to get their hands on one. Thanks for watching! Subscribe to our YouTube channel to watch more videos like the one you just saw, and leave us a comment to let us know which bootleg Pokemon game you think is the weirdest.